All right, folks, welcome to Brotherhood Forge. Today I have a very special guest. This is Bob Waldrep. I was introduced to Bob through a friend of mine who I go to church with, or actually do a men's group. It's a prayer group, and it's called Mafia, M-O-F-I-A. So I met staff there several years ago, and so now that's how I met you, Bob. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joy.
I appreciate you. It's an honor to be here. We are recording from Southbrook Church in Dayton, Ohio. First time I got to meet Bob, so I will be reading some notes for questions, which I don't typically do because we hadn't met before.
Right.
So Bob, tell me a little bit about you and the foundations you are part of, and let's just get started.
Built different, forged for more. Welcome to Brotherhood Forged with PB&J.
Well, first of all, let me tell you how much I appreciate being with you, Joy. Our mutual friend, Staff, who I've just learned is a member of a mafia, apparently.
Yes, he is. With an O.
That I didn't know about,
Yeah.
with an O.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be sure to add that. Anyway, Staff had told me he had set up a podcast with you and heard a lot of good things about you, so I'm really excited about being on your show and just sharing a little bit about not only what we do, but how both of us are trying to help folks who are struggling with different issues in life. So,
absolutely.
I actually started out in the ministry and way back. I'm gonna be old now.
That's okay.
You know, actually, it's been over 30 years
Wow.
that I've been doing ministry, and I worked at some various jobs when I got out of college. Before that,
Sure.
in the insurance industry, the Lord just led me into ministry dealing with apologetics. And apologetics, for those who may not know, is literally just means the defense of the faith. So it's about standing up for the faith that's once for all delivered to the saints with those who might be in, and in my particular area, I was dealing with cult apologetics. So, you know, dealing with those who teach aberrant forms of Christianity or other religions. A lot of times cults are stereotyped as those groups that commit suicide, and actually there are very few like that, but it's groups that have a different perspective of who God is, who Jesus is, what the gospel is. That's kind of the main criteria. So I was doing that for about 15 years with a national organization that specialized in that, and the Lord kept leading me into what I was calling cultural apologetics. I was looking into the church, and so often I saw the church kind of steering off course, you know, just a little bit of change in their theological views, just a hair maybe. And then it would just get farther and farther away, and that's where the name Crosswinds comes from. You know, if you get caught in a crosswinds, some people have probably experienced this. You might be going across a bridge in your car, and there's a wind that kind of gusts. It just knocks you a little. You think, oh, well, you know, you got hit in that crosswind. And if you didn't take any action, you'd just go over in the other lane. So you have to compensate and get back on course. And so sometimes as the church, we get a little off course. You know, and that's where heresies eventually arise. So we need to get back on course. So Crosswinds was intended to be a ministry that really dealt with cultural issues that we're facing in the church. And so here's a snapshot version. So I was going to make a film. You know, I got into media because of that. This was 2008. And I thought, what would be a good film that we could do that would really get people's attention? And I thought about post-traumatic stress disorder that was, you know, getting a little bit of attention, but most people didn't really know what it was. We were in the midst of a war at the time, so we're seeing more of that with our military personnel. And so I called a buddy of mine who was a military chaplain, and I said, what's the best film out there on PTSD? And he said, there's not one. And I thought, hey, that's a good way to go. You know, we'll do that. And I hate to tell you this, Joy, but my motivation was purely, I can make money off of this. I needed a film that would make money because I know that apologetic films don't make money. So I wanted to fund our purpose. So this was kind of our thing. A DVD sold for $19.95, you know, back in those days. And if you know what a DVD is, you know, a lot of people don't know what they are. That's right.
So I know way back.
You're way back there. So anyway, we started making this film, and it was just so moving to hear the story of those veterans that we made a decision not to sell the DVD, but instead we would give it away to any veteran or active military or their family member who asked for a video. So my big money maker turned into the money pit. I had to go out and raise the money, but it's been a rewarding thing. So through that, I just, more and more got involved in the veteran community and what was happening. And Crosswinds eventually is just kind of shifted completely into military or veteran ministry. And so we've been doing that. We released that first film in 2014. So for over 12 years now, we've been pretty much moving in the direction of all military. So I do very little apologetics. And, people ask me, when you started Crosswinds, did you ever envision it being a veteran ministry? And I'm like, no way. I had no idea to do that. So it's a God thing.
Incredible. Any military background personally?
My dad was a World War II vet, but it had nothing to do with, because, by the time I was born, I was the last of the kids.
Yeah.
It had been, I guess, 12 years since he got out. Right. So it wasn't really any connection to me in his military career until I got a little bit older and I would ask him questions about it. But no, that was not a driving point. What it did, though, Joey, is based on everything that I've learned and what I've been involved in, I understand my own father more than I did, because now I can look back on our relationship, the family relationship, some of the things that his actions that he did, and they all make sense now. Didn't make sense then, but it makes sense now. And I just wish, I think about how it would have been neat if I could have known all of this then, and we could have had that conversation.
So you've turned Crosswinds. You're also part of the Warrior Hope. Did you start that? That's
right. The Warrior Hope, or we call it Warriors on Mission, and Warrior Hope is a part of that. Is specifically toward military. That's our Crosswinds. Again, when I created Crosswinds, the vision was that we could take on other ministries. For example, if Joey came up to me and he said, I do a podcast about cultural events, and I would love to come under the Crosswinds umbrella. And we could talk about it and see if that worked out, and it may be something to pursue. So and then the idea was, if you come in under the Crosswinds umbrella, and if you get to the point that you're sustainable, then you can break off if you want to and just go start your own ministry. So we have there's a ministry called Cross Ties Asia that has a tremendous influence over in Thailand. And that was started by a friend of mine who said, hey, could I come under Crosswinds? And our board said yes. So that's how he came up with the name, Cross Ties Asia. And so he was under Crosswinds probably 10 years, and then he got to the point he could break off, and so we sent him on his way.
That's it. So you have...
we have other things. We have a golf ministry under us called Step by Step, and it's really a big part of that's geared toward dads and, taking the right steps with your children. And then it's growing and really thriving. In fact, they've changed their name to Thrive now. So
really,
and branched out into other areas of things that they're doing.
So everything under Crosswinds is not military, obviously.
Right. We have other things, but the military part is specifically started by Crosswinds. It wasn't somebody else's idea. It was what the Lord laid on our heart that we came up with.
That's incredible. Following the Lord's direction when there was no money.
Right.
As you originally expected, how hard was it to find people to fund what you're doing?
Well, I tell you, one of the great things about where we're positioned is in Birmingham, Alabama. And Birmingham is, and this is just not my opinion, this is what research will tell you, is one of the most giving communities in the United States.
Really?
The charitable giving is just incredible, the various things that are. So I'm not going to say it's not difficult at times, but there are good resources there, and there's good folks, and there's strong churches that are committed to reaching people and helping people with all kinds of needs. So, you do have to go out and meet, and you do have to have something to offer that they can invest in. We can't just go up here and say we're going to do something, not do it. If we don't deliver, you're not going to get the support the next time. But God has really blessed us. It's been hard at times, and then when it seems like it's really hard, God delivers in a way that you're like, wow, it's a God thing, you know.
Yeah.
So
the veterans you work with, men and women both, obviously.
Correct.
They're
That's
both
correct.
veterans. What type of wounds do you see people carry that you're helping them with? Is that fair to say that's something that you help them with?
Oh yeah. Well, we hope we do.
You hope you do,
yeah.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
there seems to be some good evidence in that regard anyway.
Good.
Well, we started with the first film we did was called Invisible Scars, dealing with post-traumatic stress. And that's kind of the idea that if a warrior comes back from serving and he may come back and have lost a hand, for example, and you can see that, you know that the war cost him.
Yeah.
But if you have emotional or mental trauma, you don't see that, you know. But there is a scar there. You just don't see the scar. The scar comes out in the behavior oftentimes. That's where it comes in. So we work with those who have post-traumatic stress. And during the course of making that first film, I kind of bumped up against something that's pretty new in the field of looking at military trauma. And so we were kind of, what's going on here? And it was this thing that they were calling moral injury. The researchers, they didn't really have a unified name for it. It was kind of, there's this thing out here.
Yeah.
It's not PTSD, but we're not really sure what it is.
Right.
And so again, it just got eventually tagged after a couple of years as moral injury. And whereas post-traumatic stress is being involved or experiencing something of a traumatic nature, moral injury is more of that you sense that you have failed your own morals, your own ethics. You particularly see that probably, you might think, among Christians who are serving and feel like they did something they shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
And so they have guilt or shame. Post-traumatic stress manifests itself in flight or fright, or fight rather.
Yeah.
So you either run away from something or you stand firm and fight it. And some would say, well, fear or, just frozen also would be, all of those, but, there's some action that's taken. Moral injury results in guilt and shame. And so that's how you can look at that and kind of figure out which one they're dealing with.
Okay.
I'm a horrible person. I'm ashamed of this that I did. And listen, Joey, it can be something that they really weren't at fault. They had to do it. Maybe they were ordered to do something.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just what the job requires. In our film, one of the men that I interviewed was a Marine sniper in Vietnam. And he tells this story that he was up on a hill and there was a conflict going on. And so he's got a guy in his sights and he takes him out. And he makes a note of where the guy fell because he said, I wanted to go back and search him for souvenirs. Okay? Now that's hard for probably you to think about something like that. It's hard for me. We're not in that environment, but it seemed very normal to him.
Absolutely.
So he says he goes down there to, after the fighting stops, he goes to where the body is, and he's kind of searching through, and he reaches into a pocket inside his coat, and he pulls out a photograph, and he looks at it, and it's a woman and two children. And he said, I realized that there was going to be two children and a wife who would not have a father or a husband coming home. And he said, I never searched another body after that. Okay, now I could tell he carried tremendous guilt about that. Okay, so what do you do with that?
That's a great question.
And what you'll hear from a lot of these veterans is, I just can't forgive myself for that.
Wow.
Can you imagine carrying that kind of guilt or that kind of shame? After that interview, he and I were just standing while the camera crew was packing up. And he said, I've never shared that story before. And here he did. He just shared it. So now people hear it all over the country whenever they watch one of these or watch that particular film.
Wow.
And I told him, And he was crying as he said that.
Sure.
And I told him, I said, you need to share it more often. Because one of the things that making film has helped me understand is the power of storytelling. There's a tremendous healing that comes when you tell your story.
Yeah.
And that's true in this environment, the war arena. It's true in our personal lives. It's true in what you're trying to do in helping families. If families can share their stories, the family can begin to heal. You know, it comes about with people who are dealing with drug addictions or alcohol addictions. The real power begins when you're able to speak that truth that I'm having a problem, I have a struggle. And that's the beginning of being able to ask for help. So that's one of the big keys that we've learned, and that's how we try to help vets, is create an environment, a safe space we call it, where you can share your story with men and women who can relate to that story. Because what happens is when they tell their story, somebody else is out there going, me too.
I'm not alone.
Now, there's somebody else that's also struggling with this.
Yeah, we talk about,
So.
Joby Martin, I don't know if you know who Joby Martin is. He's a pastor down in Florida, and he's nationwide popular. He talks about, you don't got this. Because men, in general, a lot of times men always think they have to do everything on their own. They have to handle this on their own. I got this. When we start telling ourselves, I got this, it's when we're in trouble. So there's two ways I like to go from what you just told me. One would be, how do you help someone kind of unpackage that moral injury? And two, let's talk about isolation after that, because I think those are huge issues. We could probably go for the next hour on those two.
And the first thing I probably should make very clear, we're not psychologists or psychiatrists. We don't have that background.
Nor am I.
We're not claiming that we do. We're not saying, hey, we could fix you professionally.
Absolutely.
We're just another guy, you know, or another gal who has found help and is wanting to extend that to others as well. So I think you have to begin with that point and then know your own limitations. And I do want to put those caveats. Because you can't help everybody. There's some who do need professional help.
For sure.
And you want to be able to say, okay, I need to make a referral here. I need to help them find someone who can provide professional counseling. In the case of veterans, maybe it's at the VA. It may be somebody who specializes in the arena of military trauma. So, you know, if you're in a city and you're wanting to help veterans, you ought to try to locate some of those, you know, folks that can help like that and be a resource. But just for us personally helping is to sit down and develop a relationship of trust, and not to be accusatory toward the person, to not be critical, to not, you know, you don't want to say, well, I can understand why you feel guilty. That's horrible, you know, that you did that.
It's not the way to go.
So, you know, I think you have to keep the proper perspective that that could be me. What if I were in that circumstance? See, I wasn't there. I didn't serve in war. I wasn't a veteran. I'm not a veteran, so I can't relate to that. And it's very difficult to understand veterans, especially if you're not a veteran, because they don't talk about it. You were mentioning my dad. As I got older, I was curious about World War II, and I would just say, hey, what happened here? What'd you do? He wouldn't tell me anything. He wouldn't talk about it. When he got with my uncle, who was also a World War II veteran, I noticed they couldn't stop talking about it, you know. And that was kind of therapy. That helped, you know, to be able to share their war stories with each other. And veterans will typically find the humorous stories that they can tell to each other, you know. So that's, again, you got to get them talking, and that involves earning trust. They've got to be able to sense that you are sincere in wanting to be a help. You're not just trying to put the proverbial notch on your belt. Hey, I helped another vet today, or it gives me a story to talk about myself.
It's not about us.
Yeah, that's right. It's not. So you have to have that kind of attitude and then go into it. And you've got to learn, and the best way to learn is to listen.
We get 2 ears for a reason and 1 mouth.
That's where we go. And so, you know, I've interviewed hundreds of veterans. I don't even know what the number is. And I learn all the time from them. But what I'm learning helps me to help other vets. Because one of the things when you get out there in community and start listening to what they say, you really hear the same stories over and over and over again. I hear the same trauma stories from a World War II vet that I hear from the Korean vet or the Vietnam vet or the Middle Eastern vet. And I pretty much have decided the only thing that changes is the technology that we use, the ability to do the killing that is done.
Right.
But it's still men and women who are there fighting the wars and having to deal with the trauma that's left behind.
Yeah, it sounds like like I deal obviously with men's community, what Brotherhood Forged is, isolation is a huge issue.
Right.
It's not isolated, it's not just men, it's not just women. How big is it in what you do and how you help people through that?
Yeah, isolation is a tremendous issue that we have to deal with. And if you're dealing with a trauma, you tend to want to self-isolate, to put yourself away so you don't, because then you don't have to face it.
Right.
Where you're only having to face it yourself or you don't have to admit it. And after we made the films, just to give you a little background of what I'm about to say, we'd get these contacts from all over the country, from veterans, like, okay, we watched your film, loved it, what do we do now? Well, I didn't have a what do we do now. Because I'd only intended to make one film, remember, and go back to apologetics. I wasn't even thinking about, this is going to be a huge ministry. So my attitude was kind of, like we made two films, what else can we do? So that, somebody would call from California or something. Well, I don't know anybody in California to refer them to. I haven't vetted anyone. I couldn't say, well, here's a really good, psychiatrist or psychologist that I know about, or this city has a really great VA. Didn't know the answers to those kind of things. So the more I thought about it and prayed about it, I thought, well, what if we could create a safe space where veterans could come together and share their stories, because I knew the power of that healing, like I said, through interviewing vets.
For sure.
And so I came up with this idea to develop a curriculum based on the films that they could go through and just talk it out.
Okay.
And, see what happens.
Sure.
So we developed the Warrior Hope curriculum based on that.
Okay.
Is a 10-week lesson or study. Gave them a leader's guide. We made videos of us teaching it, so anybody could watch that and learn how to lead the group, and just send that out. Well, we beta tested the material with a group of veterans.
Okay.
To see what kind of changes we need to make.
Yeah.
We have one thing in there. As you get it further to the chapters, we have a picture of an airplane with the question, "Who's got your six?" Now this was an old terminology that was used in the Air Force about they couldn't see their tail back there on the plane, so that was looking at a clock. The front of it's the 12, 3, 6. So they would watch each other six. You'd have another plane that would say, "Hey, you've got an enemy on your six."
Gotcha.
So you know where it is. So that veterans just or military universally began to use that idea. That I got somebody watching my back is how we'd say it. Yeah. Who's got your back? So we just had that diagram, who's got your six? Well, we got to that page, and we threw that up on a PowerPoint. We wanted to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because the whole idea is that veterans are in isolation to a large, even if they have people around them.
Right.
Isolation doesn't mean nobody's around you.
No, you can be in a crowd full of people.
You can be in a crowd full of people.
Yeah.
So we threw that up there, and you would not believe the conversation it generated. They just began telling stories of, men that had their six back when they were in Vietnam, for example, or currently had their six when or those who had just come out of the Middle Eastern War. And frankly, I didn't expect it to get that kind of reaction. I kind of thought it'd be like, hey, this is a neat thing to throw in.
Just pass it on.
We can make a point with it. Because that's what we were trying to do.
Right.
The point we wanted to make was, when you were in combat, you had someone that had your six. Who's got your six today? Okay? And the reality is no one has their six, because that was a concept for war. Right.
Right.
So we could see this has really hit something here. This is a big talking point for them.
It's so important.
So we did ask them, who's got your six, and nobody. And we used that to say, or whose six do you have? Let's turn it around and ask that. Well, nobody. I'm not watching anybody's six. If that was so important then, now that you're still fighting a war. What old Sergeant Major we interviewed, he put it this way, and I love this, and we put this in our material. I never heard anybody else say it this way, but I always ask at the end of an interview, is there anything you'd like to add that we didn't cover? Maybe a question I didn't ask you.
Yeah.
And he looked at the camera and he said, you've won one war already, and I don't want you to lose this war. Get in a web. Find others.
Find others.
And he pictured that as a web that you would get in. And so he didn't use the term isolation, but that's what he was really saying.
Same thing.
He was saying, don't isolate yourself. Get in a web. Find others who can help you, but who you can help also.
Yeah.
Get out there and get somebody's six.
Yep.
And make sure somebody's got your six as well. Isn't that a great picture?
It's amazing.
And it's for all of us.
It really is. It's so, because like my community, we have guys come in, and I'm always, one of the things when they come in, I'm like, okay, you're here to get help, right? To feed off other guys, but if you're not here to help others as well, this is probably not the place for you, because it's got to be reciprocal.
That's right.
And you got my six. What I always call that is, who's your 3 a.m. guy? Who's going to pick up the phone when you call them at 3 a.m.? Because if you don't have those people, you're isolated. And I run into those guys all the time.
Yep.
Amazed how many guys I have no one.
That's right.
I'm like, wow, we need to fix that.
Yeah. And you've not only got to have that guy, you've got to make a call.
Oh, absolutely.
That may be the hardest part.
Great point.
One of the things you also find in the veteran community is that they don't want to admit that they're having any kind of an issue. Because in one way, like most of us, we don't want people to, there's a stigma attached to it. We don't want anybody to look down on us and look like, oh, well, you're really a weak guy if you can't handle that yourself. But they're trained, that's part of their military training.
Yeah.
You like what one guy, I love the way he put it. He said, you can't be out there and headed toward the enemy and sprain your ankle and say, oops, I got a boo-boo. I can't continue on. He said, you got to go, you got to press on. You can't stop. And that's the training that they have, So they don't want to let that training down. If you can't stop, if you can't let a physical injury stop you, then you can't let a mental or emotional injury, or in the case of moral injury, if I can come full circle, a spiritual injury. Because we need to say this, when researchers kept working on moral injury, they found the solution for moral injury is not medication. It's not counseling. It's forgiveness.
Oh.
And they all agree, secular, atheist, Christian, religious, faith-based, they all agree that the cure is forgiveness.
That's
now,
interesting.
They phrase it in a way, they'll say, forgiveness by someone you believe has the authority to forgive. Now, that could be a pastor, a priest, a rabbi, could be your old football coach. If only Coach so-and-so could forgive me, I'd feel better.
Yeah.
Could be the sergeant, that you served under. If old Sarge, so-and-so could. But somebody that you believe that if that person said, it's okay, you're forgiven. And they could receive that. Now, that leads to what we know as believers.
Yeah. All
forgiveness ultimately comes from God through Jesus Christ. So it's a powerful opportunity to bring the gospel in.
I love that.
And to share with those. And so now we don't, it's not our goal to go immediately to say, well, God, you need to be forgiven by God. If they believe old Sergeant so-and-so forgiving them will help, then we're not going to say, well, no, that won't help. Don't do
Right.
that. You know?
There's a time for that, right?
So we're just happy they're finding a solution
sure.
to that part.
Absolutely.
But we want to be there to be available to them and to develop that relationship with them. I get asked all the time, why are you as a Christian organization doing this? Because, by the way, I didn't point this out. All of our material that we give, the films, the Warrior Hope books, it's all secular. It's not written from a Christian perspective. That's intentional.
Yeah.
Because we do that, we're able to get into places that we couldn't get with being unapologetically Christians. We don't go in there in disguise like, because if you go to our website, you'll know we're Christian. I mean, I'm with Crosswinds, got a cross in it, but because of that, this past Wednesday morning, I was over at Fort Leonard Wood teaching 45 plus chaplains the Warrior Hope curriculum. Now, if that were written from a Christian perspective, I would not have been at Fort Leonard Wood.
Fair enough.
Okay?
Yeah. Wouldn't have been welcome.
No.
Probably not, right?
But now, we've been able to do that, and those chaplains coming up and saying, hey, a lot of I want to get the material, I want to use this. So again, our first focus as believers is to help people,
Absolutely.
It's not just to go in there and say, if you'll become a Christian,
then we'll help you.
If you'll go through our Christian material, we'll see what we can do for you.
Otherwise you're out the door.
We're here, but we understand that you're struggling with this. But this is our field, because especially with moral injury, because forgiveness is the solution.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if old Sergeant so-and-so forgives you for whatever you feel guilty about. We all carry common guilts.
Yeah.
Common sins, as the scripture puts it, that we need forgiveness for. So it just opens up a broader discussion, hopefully.
Yeah. What do you say to a person who wants forgiveness, but that person's already deceased? Because, maybe they were part of that, whether it's in military or in combat, they made a mistake. I'm just curious, does that come up? I'm sure it does. Like, what would you tell someone? I mean, it just came to mind as you were talking about
like
that.
The person they want forgiveness from, can't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Excuse me. I always bring it back, and this is where it really rests. What they're really trying to do is forgive themselves.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
They're trying to find that forgiveness. So you have to kind of move it around and like, well, who could, why would you need that person's forgiveness? If they're already deceased, they can't forgive you.
Absolutely.
Is there another solution? Is there some other way we could point to?
Right.
And you typically get to the real issue, and I've heard this numerous times, is there's no way God could forgive me. You see, this really is a God issue. It may be manifesting itself in, because the person that could forgive them is never the person they offended. Okay. Right. It's just always, that's who they think has the authority.
Absolutely.
So what if there were one who had greater authority than Sergeant so-and-so?
Yeah.
Okay. What if you could find one who had greater authority than this person over here?
Yeah.
What about that? And then what if God forgave you? And then you come with the stumbling block, and it'll come out. There's no way God could forgive me for this. And here's how I then handle that. I just say, let's suppose that one of your battle buddies did the exact same thing that you did. Yeah. And you run into him and you said, hey, I want you to come over to my house tonight and have dinner. And, let's get caught up. And he says, great. So he shows up that night and knocks on the door, and you open it, and you say, come on in. He says, I can't. He said, come on, I invited you over here for dinner. Come on in. He said, I can't, because you see, I've done some things that are so horrible you would never forgive me. And then he tells you what he did. Would you forgive him? Every time I've ever asked that, the veteran has said, absolutely. Right. They're emphatic. Sure, I would forgive him. There's no way you wouldn't have any problem. I would forgive him for that. And then I said, why do you believe that something you're able to forgive someone for, God could not forgive you for doing?
It's so strong.
So you just have
So
to make
powerful.
that connection. But again,
Yeah.
you have to earn the right to
Mm-hmm.
speak like that to someone, though. You can't just immediately walk up to
Yeah.
them and start, trying to put them in their place.
That's interesting. So I'm sure we'll have veterans listening to this. Hopefully this is shared. If they don't know anything about the curriculum, about how to get help,
Yeah.
what do they do?
Starting point is to go to warriorsonmission.com
gonna write
or
that down.
warriorsonmission.org. Either one of those.
On mission, right?
Yep.
Warriors.
Just write it out like it's one word, warriorsonmission.com. And when you go there, the landing page, it has a way to sign up to stream our films. We released them on DVDs, so that cost a lot of money.
Now you just push a button.
Thank the Lord, streaming eventually developed.
Right,
so,
right.
So now you just go in there and you put your email address in as your username, and you create your own password.
There you
and
go.
You can just start streaming, and you can go to any device. You can be we love this because you can go to a buddy's house, and if you want to show him the films, you just log onto his computer.
Oh, wow.
Go in and stream it from your account, or let him create his own account.
So the streams are free?
Streams are free.
Movies are free?
Movies are free.
And the curriculum is free?
We still do the DVD offer, and we still get a few requests.
Do
But
you?
we still get people who say, "Well, I don't stream," and
Yeah, that's interesting.
and they'll have a DVD player, which
My in-laws,
you know.
they're still kicking. They have one.
I've got a DVD player now.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been used probably in 10 years.
I don't even have
but,
one. I'm just
so-
looking through my questions here. We've covered so much.
Let me tell you one other thing real quick that'll be
Yeah.
interesting. Particularly is we did a third film
Okay.
called Trauma Comes Home,
Yeah.
and this deals with the impact of trauma on the family. Because one of the things through all the interviews that we did is we realized that when a veteran or a warrior comes home with trauma, he infects the family. Not intentionally, but it'd be the same thing. You go somewhere and pick up a cold and you come home, and next thing you know,
Right.
or if anybody who has kids has been through the kids at school somewhere,
Yeah.
and that is just a cesspool of all kinds of illnesses that
Oh, mercy.
I remember when mine were young, we constantly had strep throat, it seems like, and so they come back and infect the entire family. Well, trauma can be that way.
Yeah.
You may not get that same trauma, but that trauma impacts you and it impacts the family.
Okay.
So Trauma Comes Home is done specifically for the family.
Yeah.
And we have a segment that deals with suicide, and you can listen to some kids and spouses tell about what it's like after their spouse committed suicide. And hopefully that's a safeguard for anybody who's going to commit or thinking about committing suicide.
Yeah.
Listen to some of those tell the story of what life was like for them, and realize what you're doing to your family.
No,
by
I
that.
had seen that film.
Yeah.
Staff had my campus where I go to church.
Yeah.
And when it first came out, I did the
The premiere?
Yeah, the premiere.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, I'm lost for words
Yeah.
right now. And my nephew, I took him. He's a Marine. He was EOD. Seen some really bad
Okay.
things. He's in his mid-30s now. His name's Josh. I don't know if he watches my podcast or not.
Yeah.
But I know he buries a lot of stuff. And he doesn't share, even talks about it, he doesn't share a lot.
Yeah.
He watched that as well. But I'm going to definitely bring this to him because I know on the outside he's doing great. And I
Yeah.
would say this to his face. But I'm sure deep down he's still struggling because he's seen some really, really bad stuff like a lot of veterans have.
Yeah, and he's not alone.
Right.
I mean, Josh is just one of many who have gone through this. And listen, I appreciate that he paid this cost for us to do that.
me too.
And he shouldn't look down on it at all.
Yeah.
He's a hero, like so many of them are. But
I agree.
get in a web. Josh,
agree.
if he's struggling, any of the Joshes out there who are struggling, need to
sure.
get in a web and
Yeah.
find those battle buddies, grab somebody's six, let them get your six, and persevere.
Yeah.
There's powerful healing that awaits you, and God certainly forgives you.
Yeah.
He forgives anyone who comes and asks and wants it.
What would you say, what role does faith have in actual healing, or does it at all?
Well, absolutely, I think it does.
Yeah.
And in fact, we're working on the fourth film right now, and this is a film about the impact of faith
Okay.
on trauma and the impact of faith, how faith affected military service or how military service affected someone's faith. So hopefully we'll have that ready to release in November. That's the goal for that. But, you know, even just being positive, I think we all know being positive has an impact in the healing process.
Mindset.
But it's hope. And that's why you'll notice in our films and our work, we have that word hope
Yeah.
in all of it. And Christ is our hope.
Oh, 100%.
You know, He is our healer.
Yes, he is.
Physical, mental,
Yes,
emotional, certainly spiritually.
he is. Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that everybody gets healed or gets healed immediately, but ultimately we'll all walk in
Yeah.
perfect life.
Yeah. If we're Christ followers, our healing may not come on. I've survived cancer twice.
Yeah,
If it comes again, I know my healing may be eternal.
yeah,
I'm okay with that.
yeah.
Got a lot of work to do before I go, though.
But you know, you don't rarely hear the story of somebody who had no hope and didn't desire hope that really gets out of, you know, some kind of physical ailment or emotional or mental.
Absolutely.
But it's somebody who has the hope, I believe I can get through this, or I believe the Lord can get me through this, or I have confidence. You know, that hope is a powerful part of the healing process, I believe, anyway.
I
you know.
100% agree with you. 100%.
You know, when you start looking at what's next, I get asked that a lot. And I always say, well, I kind of can see a little bit ahead.
Sure.
But you have to remember, I only started out to make one film. I didn't begin this thinking, you know, one day we'll have several films, we'll have curriculum, because we have the Warrior Hope curriculum. We also developed a faith version of the Warrior Hope curriculum called Disentangled, which comes from where Paul wrote Timothy and said the active soldier does not get entangled in the affairs of everyday life. Well, when you leave the military, you need to disentangle from the military in the same way you disentangled from your civilian life to become entangled in the military. So we look at it from a spiritual perspective.
Okay.
And so that's available for Bible study groups, a 6-week course. And then we've done a book for the family who's dealing trauma. So just like warriors can sit around and use Warrior Hope, families can come together and they can work their way through the workbook for the warrior families.
Okay.
And hopefully find healing as well. So we did that. Then we sensed the Lord, okay, we need to really approach this with more Christian materials, because what I think is next is that God is leading us to help the church establish a ministry to veterans.
Okay.
Very rarely do you find that. Okay. And when you do find it, most often it's nothing more than just a gathering point for, you know, maybe having a meal together or breakfast or something occasionally. And a big part of that is because the resources aren't available. There's one of the things I quickly began to realize, there are a lot of organizations out there that want to help vets.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of veterans who start some organization to try to help vets, doing something with them.
Yeah.
But the problem is they don't have a resource to get to that next step. You know, they don't have that guideline. It's kind of like, you know, at one of our groups, a guy came and he actually had a ministry teaching veterans how to do photography. And his plan was, I'll get them out in the wilds, taking pictures and showing them, you know, how to do nature shots and all. And then we'll just talk. Well, you still need some impetus for the conversation.
You still need curriculum.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's what we see ourselves as our primary purpose is to provide this curriculum to others who are doing that more hands-on work.
Yeah.
Now, just in all of our testing and training, we're able to help a lot of vets as well.
Yeah.
But just to sit down, we're not structured in a way to really just say, let's do this group, this group, this group.
Yeah.
We're structured to develop the curriculum that will help others do that group. So what we're working toward then is for the Christian community, developing more Bible studies and how to actually begin to develop those. So we're doing this with, we have two churches in Birmingham that we're
Okay.
currently working with.
Yeah.
And they're both, one of them's like probably about the fourth largest church in the state. And the other is, well, one of the largest of its denomination
Okay.
in the city. And these are, again, this is the Lord's hand. I'm just working out this idea of how to do it. And to that very large church, a veteran goes and says that he'd like to start a veteran ministry in the church. So the minister or pastor he's talking to, not even knowing what I'm thinking, says, well, you need to talk to Bob Waldrep. Let me put you in touch with him. Because he's a buddy of mine, and, you know, he's just familiar with our ministry.
Sure.
And so he's only thinking from the standpoint of I can help him with veteran stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't know I can actually help him, I think, start this ministry, because I had some ideas we were already putting down on paper and getting ready to launch. So we began working with that church. The mayor of one of the adjoining cities hears about what we're doing at this church, and he said, I want my church to do this. So that's the other church comes to us and says, you know, we'd like for you to help us. So, you know, it's just amazing. So that's where I am now. I don't know what's beyond that, Joy.
That's fair.
Okay? But I can tell you that I really believe that this ministry, my ultimate goal is to give this to the church. I think it needs to be in the hands of the church.
Yeah.
And the church needs to run with it. And I think there's a tremendous opportunity there. And that's actually why we're in this area today, is we want to, you know, meet with some area leaders and talk about how do we develop a ministry through the church to reach veterans.
Is your curriculum ongoing, like always being updated and that type of thing?
Yep.
Okay, I assume. Now, what kind of team do you have that you work with that
Well,
develops this? I'm just curious.
Well, actually, you know, we've had kind of in and out folks, and then I'll kind of take the lead, and I'll hire a director for the films, and, you know, some camera people and all kind of that. But it's pretty simplistic. It's me and whoever is doing other ministries, like the golf ministry, you know, the one that we had in Asia, some other stuff that we're doing out there.
Okay.
So we keep it small and lean,
That's interesting.
you know, because it's just, it's our passion that we have, first of all. And it's easier to move about.
So you obviously feel God just keeps calling you in this area. Do you see an end point? Do you see, like, I want to do it
People ask me all
till
the time,
XYZ?
when are you going to retire? And I always say, when I no longer enjoy it is when I retire, or when I'm just physically not capable of doing it.
That's fair.
So it's, you know, I love it. I love the people that you get to meet. You know, I love writing and developing and being creative. So as long as I can keep doing it,
That's
and
fair.
I should add in, my wife allows it also.
Fair. Same with me in this
She's got a word in that too, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but she's really happy. She's, you know, we're both retired now in a sense that we're retirement age, even though I'm still working. So we're able to travel together, and
that's
that
great.
gives good, you know, it's good to have her along, and she enjoys it. She loves the veteran side much more than the apologetic side.
Really?
Yeah. So it's just kind of, you know, the Lord's good. He brings it all together.
He does provide.
You know, sometimes you just need to stumble along wherever He's taking you, and He'll take care of things. So
When you take your last breath, Bob, what do you want to be remembered for?
I really want to be, I aspire to be like Paul. I aspire to stand before the Lord and hear, well done, my good and faithful servant.
Amen to that.
So, and I don't know what all that looks like, but hopefully, you know, what we're doing today is part of it, and what we'll do tomorrow is part of it.
Yeah.
And we'll have that to bring before the Lord, as Revelation said, and cast our crowns before Him in praise. The crowns that He gave us.
Hey, amen to that. As we wrap up, because I know you have something else to do here soon, one last message for the audience. What would that be?
You know, one of the things that I tell veterans, and I try to drive home, is it's okay to get help.
Yeah.
It's okay to get help. All right? And I know that may not sound like, gosh, that doesn't sound all that theological or anything. But if you need help in an area of your life, go to someone and let them know. I mean, let them, don't wait till you're desperate. Don't wait till you're at the point that you've given up.
Yeah.
Don't let a feeling of inadequacy or, I'm not worthy or I'm a failure. Don't let that or anything else hinder you. Don't let, how will people look at me? Don't let that hold you back. Go get help.
Yeah.
That's, the Lord, this is particularly true for us as believers. The Lord has given us a community to live in and to work in and to thrive in. Be part of that community.
Yeah.
And when you need help, ask of that community. And when you can help others who are in that community. So it's okay. Get help.
Okay. Bob, thank you for your time. This has been very fun, very fun. We could probably talk for several hours easily. But I appreciate what you do. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. Your message will be heard, and thank you for blessing me.
Thank you for the opportunity, Joy.
Yes, sir.
I look forward to doing it again.
Yeah.
Anytime.
All
Call
right.
on me.
All right.
All
Thank
right,
you,
brother.
Appreciate you.
Take care.